G'day guys, make it with the Outer Circle. Why do people send me links to Bell of Lost Souls? Do you enjoy seeing me suffer? Do you? Larry Vella's writing an article about why we need female Primaris. We need female Primaris. Do we want to look through the article? I don't particularly. On the bright side, I'm running an ad blocker, so I can actually read the whole article. But you can see like heaps of white to the side of the screen. That's all the commercials being blotted out. It's fucking great. So definitely use Adblocker if you go on their website. Thing is, we don't need Primaris Marines to be female. We don't really need Primaris Marines. It was sort of like when fantasy was dying in Games Workshop's like, oh, people are not buying as many of these models as they used to. What do? Well, you soft reboot, or in fantasy's case, I guess you hard reboot it. And that's what they did with Space Marines. Everyone has an army of Space Marines now. Why don't we just make a new army that they have to buy if they want to remain competitive? And some people will sit there and argue with me, oh, Macca, they don't force you to buy it. Well, no, they don't, but they're not holding a gun to your head. They may as well be. At least if you want to remain competitive. 40k is a cruel taskmaster, and the way that they constantly rewrite rules, change rules, bring out new factions, it causes power creep. Primaris Marines were written to be bigger and better than other Space Marines. They haven't phased them out yet. But look how many other factions, such as all those old fantasy factions, are slowly being pushed aside as Age of Sigmar goes on. The Bretonnians, gone. They'll probably come back in some capacity. Don't doubt it, in fact. The old Empire, they're dying off. The old dwarves, they're gone. Caradon Overlords and Fire Slayers are now it. And people go, oh, but Mackie, you can still buy this stuff on the website. Yeah. When was the last time you saw Games Workshop actively promoting tactics for the old style fantasy dwarves? When was the last time you saw them doing a battle report or painting up miniatures in White Dwarf? They're not, because they've got no interest in doing it. They're trying to get rid of them. Same thing with 40k. They've got no interest now in looking after the old Space Marines when they have a whole new line of Primaris to keep making sculpts for and keep pushing at you. Why do we need female Primaris? We don't. And even if we got them, would they be better models than regular Primaris? No. You see, if you turned a female into a Space Marine, would they look like a female? A Space Marine doesn't even look like a fucking human to start with. Okay? They are grotesquely proportioned. Tiny little heads, massive shoulders, broad chests, thick thighs. They look like a person in a fun house in one of those wide mirrors that makes them look heaps wider. Okay? It's like you took a person and just stretched them sideways. That's the sort of grotesque creature a Primaris Marine is, or any Space Marine. And when you look at a woman in real life who's been on steroids and competes in bodybuilding, they don't look like a female. At least not the typical female we all imagine. They look like this female bodybuilder. She does not look like a she anymore. If she wasn't wearing the swimsuit sports bra type thing, you could be forgiven for thinking this was a guy. She has typical masculine features now. The wide jaw, the eyes look smaller and beadier in the face due to the filling out of the face with new muscle. Obviously she has the guy's shoulders, muscles and muscles. A lot of very vascular muscles at that. She didn't have the long hair and the earrings, and someone saw her, they'd probably think this was a guy. Because that's the effect that all these hormones have on you. That's why female bodybuilders take steroids. They're essentially injecting themselves with male testosterone. I have a cousin who's going through transitioning from a female into a male. That's a whole nother kettle of fish, but she is on heaps of these sort of hormones, and it has made a dramatic impact on how she looks, how she appears. And she now does look like a guy. And she was quite a petite, short female. And now she looks like a teenage guy. So that's the effect of it. If you made female Primaris Marines, they would look exactly like any other fucking Primaris Marines, unless, of course, they were wearing eyeshadow, lip gloss, long blonde hair, and perhaps big earrings. Don't know why they would do that in a combat zone. In fact, a lot of women I knew in the army, they had short hair like the guys. Didn't wear earrings, even if they were allowed to, which a lot weren't, apart from little studs. Definitely weren't allowed to wear makeup. So they start to blend in. The only difference is that, unlike regular army, Primaris Marines are on the steroids and that kind of thing, and obviously have all this surgery performed on them. Whereas real female soldiers in the real military, they're generally not built like the guys are. Smaller shoulders, tinier necks, that kind of thing. They look almost like a child in body armor. Whereas guys sort of fill out our body armor. A lot of women, the helmet looks too big on them. The body armor looks too big on them. It's just one of those funny things. You know? Anyway. We don't need females, and even if we got the female Space Marines, you know, we wouldn't even notice it. Not unless you went out of your way to make them look like women. And if you did that, you'd be taking something away from your lore about Space Marines. You'd be saying, oh, Space Marines now can look normal. And that's not how Space Marines work. Space Marines are meant to be... They're kind of like that Starship Troopers, the way their fascism works. It's meant to be this horrible, twisted version of something that, you know, is... They're supposed to be saying that, hey, this is normal, this is right. When really, to our sensibilities, we're like, no, that's not right, that's horrible. Okay? Starship Troopers, in their world, their universe, fascism is great, hey, best thing ever, you know? And those of us watching it are like, this is horrible. They're sending off teenagers to fight and die in some meaningless war. For what reason? Okay? Same thing with 40k. We're like, they're taking prepubescent children from their families and turning them into soldiers through horrible surgery, brainwashing them to namelessly kill, without thought, any foes of humanity, and then they're expected to give their life in service of the Imperium. No retirement, no family, no settling down. Their whole life is taken away from them just for the chance to serve the Imperium's needs. Okay? If you change the background of that, you're taking something away from the hobby as a whole. And you can't do that without upsetting people. And you're going to upset a lot more people doing that than you're going to please. Because time and time again, these people who are pushing for female Space Marines and, you know, female Thor in comics and transgender this and black female fucking dinosaur that, okay, they aren't the majority of people. They are not the majority of any community, okay, except for their own community, I suppose. Every time you make something to pander to that crowd, it fucking falls flat on its face. Look at Marvel Comics and their big social justice push with things like Thor. Okay, Thor is now a female. It tanked. That series tanked because they alienated 90% of their target audience. The audience didn't want that. And the people who were asking for it, they just wanted their way. They just wanted to know that they had the power over the company. Their voices were heard. It's a control thing. Where they're going, yeah, do it. And then it gets done. And they're like, so you're going to buy it? And they're like, no. We just thought you should do it. You know? Same thing with 40k. Do you think that making female Primaris Marines is going to suddenly see a huge upsurge in female players? Of course it's not. Women are just like men in a lot of ways. They're fucking smart. Okay? You can't just manipulate them into doing what you want. You're not going to attract young girls by saying, hey, you see that squad of Space Marines over there, you know, with helmets on, and they all look identical? Yeah, do you know that half that squad is female? They're going to go, so? Because they don't give a shit. You're not going to appeal to them by telling them that sculpts that look just like another set of sculpts are females. That's not how it works. See, girls are often creative. Guys are creative. Being creative is something that this hobby draws in. A lot of girls who I've met are usually really, really good painters in this hobby. Generally, I'd say that women are better than men as painters in this hobby. They take more time, they pay more attention to detail than guys do. And when they focus on it, they do a bang up job. You know, whereas a lot of guys just, fuck it, close enough, you know. And girls, on the other hand, they put in the effort because they're being creative, they're expressing themselves, they're doing something new and unique. And yeah, there are girls who are in it just for the game, and there are girls who are in it just for the war. Okay? This definitely all exists, but on the whole, that's the sort of approach you've got to go for. You can't just try and market, oh, yeah, these models are female, and expect girls to just suddenly go, oh, I'm represented, oh, please sign me up. Hook up $400 of resin to my veins. They don't think like that, and frankly, it's fucking rude to treat them like they do. Instead, target them with, you know, hey, you want to join a community where you can hang out and you can paint models and you can talk about other nerd stuff and you can just have fun, some escapism, you'll learn to be creative, explore different horizons, maybe read some cool stories. That's the angle you should be going down with anyone in this hobby to get them into this community. Not going down the whole, hey, you're a purple-haired feminist, well check it out, there's a model over there and you could paint its hair purple and it could be just like you and it's a space marine. That's, nobody wants that, okay? Nobody wants that. And this whole article, you know, yeah, there are female Stormcast Eternals. Thing is, Stormcast Eternal is a great warrior resurrected to serve Sigmar, and he uses his space magic to do that. Space Marines, on the other hand, are the very best of a population, which, as we know from previous videos, is guys. Guys represent the very best and the very worst of any demographic. They are the strongest, the fittest, the smartest at the very top end, but we're also the stupidest at the very bottom end, because guys tend towards the extremes of the intelligence spectrum. Women generally cluster in the middle. It's not to say there aren't genius women. There aren't incredibly physically capable women. They do exist, but on the whole, they're not that top 0.001%. That's a fair comment to make, I think. The evidence backs it up. We've discussed it before. And when you're looking at Space Marines and they're doing a selection on a planet and they're looking for who are the top 0.001% of this planet's population, chances are it's gonna be guys. Okay? Sigmar, on the other hand, he has the luxury of being able to just pick from adulthood who he thinks the best soldiers are. The Imperium, on the other hand, they know that they've got limited resources to pull into their Astartes, so they're going to go for the very best they can. Sigmar is going to go for the most capable he can find. They've got their own different approaches. This whole, oh, well, you know, Cole put additional organs into the Space Marines. Unless he planted a set of ovaries in there, I don't think it's going to work. You see, Primarch Gene Seed tries to change a body. It tries to, from the ground up, from the cells up, restructure your body to be more like the Primarchs. That's how it works. And it has an incredibly high rate of failure. A lot of aspirants die. A lot of people chosen to join these studies die during the implementation process. The implants kill them. The sheer physical changes going on in their body kills them. It's trying to turn the body into a facsimile of the Primarch, but it hasn't got all the material it needs to do that. That's why they have to add all these extra organs to a Space Marine. Try and make them closer to the Primarch that their body's trying to turn into. And it takes a lot of surgery, and it takes many decades to do so. And then you have women, and you add this extra element in. You have females now, and you already know that a lot of males who are genetically closer to the Primarchs in template, because they have the same chromosomes, the Y chromosomes, you're now going to put an X chromosome into this on the women. No Y chromosome at all. So you're even further removed from. You're making the process more difficult. The chances of failure and rejection of the implants is going to increase. Male organs in a female body. Now, don't get me wrong, in, say, heart transplants, kidney transplants, that kind of thing, blood type more important than genetic, whether you're male or female, right? For the average human. But these aren't average humans. These people are trying to be a Primarch, and it's trying to modify their body, okay? Anyway, this whole thing here, It's just a virtue signaling clickbait article. It's a crock of shit. And he says things like GW is becoming more inclusive. Games Workshop isn't really becoming more inclusive. Games Workshop's had female models since at least the early 90s. You know, I can think of like Marathi and a lot of the Dark Elf miniatures, sorceresses, that kind of thing. And that goes right back to the mid-90s. High Elves, same thing again. The female models there. Wood Elves, same thing again. And that's all fantasy ranges. 40k, you have the Adeptus Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle. There are also different types of assassins. Most Death Cult assassins, I believe, are female sculpts. So, there's that kind of thing going on. Obviously, Imperial Guard. Yeah, you can make female Imperial Guard. Nothing against it. Okay? That's your avenue to explore. But the minute you start trying to change your existing fluff, especially for something so established as Space Marines, it alienates people. People are already having a hard enough time with the adjustment to Primaris Marines. They still have a lot of people who don't like them. Me personally, I don't mind them at all, really. I just think the lore behind them is fucking terrible. I could have done a better job in a Sunday. But hey, I'm not paid by Games Workshop. For many good reasons. Because I don't just follow the leader, an independent thinker, and they don't like that. Their corporate shills come up with, we can market this and this in this way, and that's how they operate as a company, and they're beholden to the shareholder. For some companies that process works, and for Games Workshop they're making money, you know, so they're not going to change. They're not going to change it. Anyway, make with the outer circle. Don't go to bowls. Fuck them. They're full of this sort of clickbaity shit. Don't do it. They don't want to talk about the real thoughts behind it. They just want to throw an article in your face that says, whoa, female Space Marines, how cool would that be? There's no actual substance to the article. Okay? I sit here and I make a 17 minute long video where I talk about it, and he's written, what, 150, 200 words? That's it? What do you write that up in, 5-10 minutes? Throw in 600 ads? Probably makes 5 times as much money out of this article as we will. When I put this video up, I'll probably make about 30 cents. Facebook advertising, shit, by the way. Oh, sorry, YouTube advertising. Although Facebook advertising is also shit. I mean, the time I loaded it, 87 comments. That's more than a lot of our videos get. Unless it's edgy. This might be considered edgy. Anyway, make it the outer circle. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.